Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and with me as always is Scribe. Say hello.
Uh, Hello.
This is
It,
a unscheduled stream. Well, we scheduled it, but it's not our normal nightly stream. That will still be happening in about an hour. But for the next 45 minutes, you have us to pick our brains if you have anything you want to ask about how we do YouTube stuff.
and also, as long as you're not a zombie who wants to pick our brains, because that's a completely
Indeed.
different situation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just gross.
Yeah.
Before we While we're waiting for you guys to ask questions, I do have questions from somebody who sent me a long list of them on Twitter one day. And we'll start off with that. See, there were 10 questions here, I think. First one is I know that you can use songs in videos because, or you can't use songs in videos because of copyright issues, but how about half a song? Here's something with copyright you need to get into your head if you're going to use anything. There is no time limit on how much you can use. There's just not. That's not part of fair use. Um, Fair use, the provisions that allow you to do it, there's satire, commentary, education. I'm missing one. Anyway, it's all about how you do it. And we just had these, was it the Supreme Court that decided it, or the Supreme Court refused to hear it and the Ninth Court had decided it. Um, it was a video where there was a baby dancing to a Prince song,
Oh,
and
yes. Mhm.
what they decided is that because the dance was actually what was going on, the song was barely audible in the background anyway. Um, they sided with the girl who uploaded the video. Um, there's also a provision of the DMCA that says you can't knowingly false flag something. She sued them, but she couldn't prove they knew that what they were doing was a bad bad faith DMCA. So it doesn't matter how much you use; it just matters the context. That's what fair use is all about. And I do
Mhm.
recommend reading up as much as you can about fair use. Okay, do we have some questions from everybody here
We
yet?
do. Moonshock has asked, what is the order of things you do? Do you make a script first, then the background objects and timeline, or do you throw all of the background stuff together first, then record audio? For me, what I do is I find a video. And usually I'll know within the first minute or two whether it's something I want to spend any time paying attention to, because either it grabs my attention or it doesn't. And what I'll generally do is I will open up a text document and I will script as I'm watching it. And I will pause the video at breakpoints and such, and I'll put a little notation on the text file of break like 30 seconds, or I'll put a timestamp on it. And then I'll write whatever my thoughts are. And then I'll move on in the video until I break again, then I'll mark that time. Um, and then once I finish the script, I can take that, and when I have a chance to download the video, I know exactly where I need to cut or chop up the video in the editing software,
Mhm.
so that when I finally record my audio, I'll just be able to piece everything together.
Mine, it depends on the type of video I'm doing. If it's one where I'm just responding and I don't have to have any slides in there, what I typically do is I will put the video into the video player and I will watch part of it, cut where I need to. I will immediately respond to that, put that in, and just keep going like that. Watch, cut where I'm done, put it in, respond, and the only change in that is if I have to do like today's video, there were slides in it for showing the article that I was reading. I generally cut the whole article out in little pieces, get it set up in Photoshop, import that, and then still do the same pattern, just inserting the article instead of the video. Excuse me. Um, Regarding the background music, despite if someone says it's free to use, can you still get penalized for using it? Uh, yes and no. If it's actually their music, and somebody strikes you for it, you can fight it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, you have to make sure it is actually their music. And that's why I don't use music very often because I don't even want to get into that shit. If it's actually an original piece, and you have fair use, if they say it's free to use and you put that, sometimes they'll want you to put a little disclaimer in there. Hey, this is my music. This is where you can find me, that kind of stuff. Always make sure you do that if they ask you to. Otherwise, if they just say, hey, this is yours, that's free to use, make sure it's actually theirs. Because if it's not, and so it belongs to a bigger company, they can strike you pretty hard for it.
Yeah, I get all the music I use from a channel on YouTube called Copyright Free Music. And if I do use any music in it, especially, I always give credit in my description for the intro music and the artist. Even if it is copyright free, I figure, well, I should get some attention for it. If I ever use any other bumper music or montage music, I always cite them too. But I get them all from a channel that tells me they are copyright free. So if somebody comes along and says, hey, you did a bad thing, I'll say, well, it was posted to copyright free, so can you at least give me the good faith benefit of the doubt? That kind of thing.
Hey guys, I see the other questions in here. Please try to keep it about the. We have a very limited time. If this was endless, I wouldn't mind answering goofy questions. But best downloading software. That's actually something I can't answer on the stream because technically I don't download videos because that would be wrong. Cheapest, easiest to use editing software. Okay, you use Vegas, right?
Yeah, and it's not cheap, so I can't recommend that. It's super easy to use, though. It makes life really simple compared to what the horror stories I hear from other people. But yeah, it is definitely not cheap.
The cheapest ones that I know of are both free. If you're using Mac, it's iMovie. If you can still get it, what's it called? Movie Maker for Microsoft. I've never used iMovie, but I hear it's really easy to use. I do know Movie Maker is very easy to use, but being free, it's very limited as well. You can't do multiple tracks on it, which is how you like on my video today, you'll see like the Trump footage from the meme and my monkey sitting over top of it. That's not something you can do in Movie Maker. But it is okay if you're just going to cut up a video and respond and you're going to have something else in between.
Right.
And then for if you're looking for cheapest audio, I think pretty much everybody I know uses Audacity.
Yeah.
It's absolutely free and it's really easy to use. I make 2 changes on it. I up the compression and then get rid of the background noise. And
I put it through an equilibrium filter, then I compress, then I amplify a little bit, and then I take out the background noise.
Moonshock asks, what software or websites do you use to rip video from YouTube? Can't answer that. I don't technically do that. And do you have to flip it to prevent copyright?
It helps.
A lot of people, it helps. Yes. You can also resize it, speed up the audio or speed up the video itself so that it's not. Most of the stuff like that is caught by an automatic filter. And the idea is just to get around that automatic filter. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. Trying to go in order here, guys. So, and chat tends to jump on you if you've been in one place for too long. Monkey, who did the banjo you use at the end of your videos? Carrie Ann did that. The link is
Carrie Ann.
She's finally coming back. I've started seeing her in comments again, so that's great.
Yeah, she commented on my video the other day.
Oh, sweet. You can find the link to her channel in all of my normal videos. I don't use it's not in here. Terry Diamandis, I give you permission to use November Rain. Yeah, that doesn't work.
I wanted to throw out a quick piece of advice on audio recording, or at least how I do it.
Sure.
So if you're doing it by script, like I do, what I do is, like I mentioned before, I write the script and then later on I'll record the audio. One of the big things that makes it difficult with the audio is I don't want to record every little bit as its own file. I just want to record one big long audio file and then be able to import that into my video editing software so I can then divide it up where it needs to go along the timeline. So what I do is when I'm recording audio, so Audacity, when you're using it, you can see the little, the actual audio spikes and everything else as you go along and record.
Right.
So what I do in order to edit and help myself edit as I'm coming back to it after I'm done is when I'm reading my script, if I make a mistake, which is often, I will stop. I will click my tongue twice really loud into the microphone, and that leaves a little double spike right there on the audio line. And then I continue where I left off, trying to make up for the mistake. When I've finished a segment in between breaks of the video, I clap 5 times really loud into the microphone. And so afterwards, once I've recorded all of my audio and I go back to get ready to edit it and take out the mistakes and tighten it up, I can visually see where I need to edit and where the breaks are in between each segment. And then when I import the audio into my video editor, it also shows the spikes and the audio playback little shapes as well. So I can also see visually where the breaks are in between segments, so I know where to chop and edit and take all the extraneous stuff out.
Yeah, I do mine. Each little section is its own recording.
Okay.
What microphone do you guys use? I use a Snowball Blue Ice.
I have a Blue Yeti at present.
The Snowball is a great microphone. It's only $50. Walmart recently started carrying it. Do not buy it from Best Buy. Even online, it is $20 more expensive at Best Buy than anywhere else. And I don't know why. So unless you really just want to waste an extra $20, don't buy it there. WR, that's have either of you used Windows Movie Maker? I have an old computer that needs to be replaced. In the meantime, there's nothing wrong with using Movie Maker. It's just very limited in what it can do. It's a really good program. Like probably the first half of my videos were done in that. Satsu says he uses Camtasia. I've never used it. I've heard good things about it, but it's not one that I've used myself.
Somebody was asking earlier, like where you get the inserts from or the clips and such. As I'm writing the script, usually I'll figure out where I need to have a snapshot of like the reference, whatever the article I'm looking at, or maybe a person's bio or something. But 9 times out of 10, I'll come up with an idea to insert something as I'm assembling the video together. Like I will have said something, or I'll make a reference to something that I didn't think about too deeply when I was recording it. And I thought, oh, that'll be a good place for that. Or sometimes even I'll have to remember to insert the Cenk Uyghur right into places where I find in the video, either myself or the speaker, because I don't always catch those. I've started doing it to myself just to be self-deprecating, because even I sometimes can only end a thought with right. So,
Scribe, is the running urinal sound in the first few seconds of your video theme music something you added, or did it come as is?
Okay, so when I first created the opening sequence to my videos, I posted it on Minds to people and just said, hey, thoughts, what do you think? And the version I put out there originally was just the music starts and the iris opens up and there it is. Somebody suggested that I should put in some kind of lead-in sound to it. And they suggested water for some reason. I don't remember who this was. I don't remember what the context of the conversation was. So I found an audio file of a babbling brook, and I just sort of overlaid that into the first part of the opening before it cuts off right at the beat for the title to come up and the iris to disappear. There's no meaning to it so much. It just seems calming for some reason, I guess. And I don't know. I mean, that's just all there is to it. I could easily take it out, but it's just kind of tradition now. So it's not a urinal. It's a babbling brook. You know, and I've had more than a few people tell me it's one of the most calming intros to videos they've ever had before. So I'll just take it at that, unless or until I really find a reason to change it. That's pretty much how it's going to be. Not by design, but just kind of by accident.
Moonshock asked, Moonshock. Okay, I did say that right. How many layers, or can you have infinite layers of video and audio in Premiere? I've never tried to do more than 5, not because I thought there'd be an issue. I've just never needed to. I can't imagine they just let you go on forever, but yeah. You can do at least 5.
Tills asks, is there a feature on Audacity when you could change your voice at all? I hate the sound of my own voice, but can't afford much tech. Thanks. There's many, many, many effects, filters, and ways to manipulate the audio with either the equalizer or the compression. It's probably going to be a whole lot of trial and error depending on how you want to try to change your voice around. But it can be done. You can make your voice deeper, you can slow it down, you can speed it up.
You can also save all those settings so that if you find something you like, when you go to the, like, say you want to change the pitch of it, that's what I do. Like when I'm reading something that's not my own voice and I have no other way of showing it.
Right.
I'll speed up the pitch, and I have when you go to the screen, there's a little download manager on the bottom left. And if you click on that, you can use presets and you'll get to name it and everything. And I have one that's named News, and one that I had named Dear Dumbass, even though I don't do those anymore. And so if you find a way that you like your voice, you can just set that up so you can click on it. And every time, you don't have to remember what you had set the time before.
Yeah. I so far have just changed the pitch of my own voice naturally rather than try to use a filter because I like making voices.
I do too, but sometimes I just want to make sure people know it's not me, you know?
Right, right.
Justified Magnitude asks, am I missing something? YouTube lets me download YouTube videos. Why is something else needed? Do you use YouTube Red by chance? Okay, to start a channel, if I can't afford the best equipment like microphone or such, or wait till you have the best equipment possible to start your channel. Oh, is it okay to start? Yeah, start with what you have. There's so many ways that you can, you want the best possible audio you can get. If you're in a very echoey room, you might want to put like a pillow behind your microphone, or if you're just using a headset microphone, put a pillow in front of your face. Something to dull that echoey sound. But my philosophy getting into this was I was not spending any money that I hadn't made already. Everything I use, including my computer that I built, has been built with money made through YouTube. Don't pour money into it unless you absolutely have to. If you don't have a microphone at all, you're going to have to get something. But go as cheap as you can.
Yeah, I've the computer was just my like home computer kind of thing, the one I was going to use anyway. The microphone originally was just the one on my headset that I had previous to starting YouTube. And the only thing that I poured money into was the Sony Vegas editing software, because I wanted to, after I tried the free trial, I was just like, oh, this makes life so much easier. And given the fact that I didn't have any other hobbies taking up my petty cash at the time, I thought, oh, well, you know, no big deal. At this point, YouTube has paid for the software just about. So I've almost broken even as far as my personal investment on this stuff. But yeah, as far as like microphones are concerned, I have my Blue Yeti sitting inside a cardboard box that I've surrounded with a little towel and put a whole bunch of old spare socks behind the microphone in order to blunt the extraneous noise. It's very, very white trash looking microphone setup. It's like this is my recording studio, a cardboard box. But you know, hey, it works, and the people watching your videos aren't going to see how you do it, just so long as the output looks good and sounds all right. But don't be scared of like starting out with crappy equipment and everything else. Everybody did. That's how you build up. And also using the crappy equipment, or the less quality equipment, I suppose, you will learn more from trying to accommodate or adjust for the deficiencies of that early equipment than you would if you were just handed everything easy from the get-go. So don't be afraid to start off small, so to speak. You'll probably be better off for it.
I'm seeing some questions here about YouTube drama and stuff that's going on. Guys, we will cover those in the nightly stream at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, this is just for YouTube advice and questions as far as like making videos and such. The nightly stream, for which we still don't have a team name, but we'll discuss that later, will be in about 45 minutes or thereabouts.
W.R. Costin was actually asking Satsu. Satsu's in chat. Hey, bud. How you doing tonight? Is OBS necessary for streaming? Is OBS only necessary for streaming? One, it isn't necessary for streaming. We don't use it on the Monkey channel here. If you are going to use it for streaming, you can do a lot a lot more interesting stuff. I just have really shitty internet, and it does bog down your bandwidth. But you can use OBS for a lot of stuff. I've actually used OBS before to capture things off of my screen that ended up in videos that I couldn't find a way to get elsewhere. How long does it take for you to decide on a topic for videos? Any thoughts on what kind of topic are best to talk about? You want to take that?
Whatever interests you. I mean, I don't mean to sound, too simplistic about it, but, everybody's different. What catches my attention isn't necessarily going to catch anybody else's. I do relatively obscure stuff that isn't very mainstream. There are a couple of channels that I will look at just because they're usually gold mines or reliable sources for such things. But what do you want to talk about? What's interesting to you? What do you have a passion for? Do you have a passion for a particular subject? Do you have a passion for just critique? I mean, movies, who knows? As far as how I find subjects, my process, such as it is, I'll go into YouTube. I will put into the search bar, I have a series of keywords I look up: diversity, intersectionality, white privilege, feminism. After feminism and sexism and gender equality, I always put a minus MGTOW as one word next to it, because that will remove any posts that have to do with MGTOW. I don't want to, because if you put in sexism or feminism, you're going to get a whole ton of like angry MGTOW type posts that'll just clutter up your results. So I do have a certain keyword filters that I put in there, but I just look up stuff and see what happens, because it's not so much that I'm looking for a specific person or subject, because sometimes the strangest things will be tagged with these words in relation to whatever the subject is. And I've found some very odd things in the past that had, tangentially to do with what the word I searched for was. But if you put in diversity, oh man, it's all over the place on a daily basis. It never ends, and it's always interesting. So that's how I do it.
This is kind of related. I was asked, why did I decide to join the Skeptic YouTube Club? And I didn't really decide to join. One of these days, I might unlock my old blog so you guys can actually see this. But the kind of stuff you hear me do here is what I used to do in typing, in print. Literally, it's the same kind of stuff, including the same monkey. But I just couldn't do typing that much was killing me. So I switched to video, and it just happened that that's the club I ended up in. And it's like Scribe is talking about. It's what I am passionate about. So that's how it ended up that way. Yeah,
the evolution to YouTube was mainly because the kind of arguments that the kind of critiques and analysis I would do now on YouTube stuff is what I was doing on Facebook posts, but posts made by people that I knew. And getting into arguments with people that you know in a relatively confined sphere like Facebook friends and such is an invitation for unwanted drama and a whole bunch of vitriol from people that are close to you. And it got kind of uncomfortable doing it that way. But I still wanted an outlet, because I still saw all this stupid stuff being put out there and people just sort of rolling over and accepting it as fact without questioning it, which always bugged me. So YouTube allows me to sort of, have an outlet that's beyond just the small realm of Facebook. Squeaky door.
Squeaky door. Sorry about that, guys. Excuse me.
How long does it take you to make a video, Monkey?
It depends on the video. The one I made today took me less than 3 hours. I've had the longest it's ever taken me was over 12 hours.
Okay.
And that one was a bitch. That was the answers to the questions SJWs had for anti-SJWs. Back then, I used to make a card for every different subject I tackled on the screen. So I forget how many questions they had. There was just so fucking many of them.
Yeah.
And there was a separate card made in Photoshop for each person who asked a question each time they made asked a question. So yeah, that took a long time.
We have a giant Pepe on the chat. Interesting. The first time I usually end up watching a video altogether about 2 or 3 times over the course of scripting it and making sure that I've gotten quotes correctly. So there's maybe about an hour or so in scripting, and then maybe an hour or two in both recording audio and then assembling everything. If I sat down and did nothing else, it'd probably be about 3 hours or so. And the end result usually is, depending on the length of the source video and how much I cover of it, I can usually estimate that if a video is 5 minutes long, then barring some really deep research I have to do or relay, any video I make is going to be double the length of the amount of subject video I do. So a 15-minute video will end up being about half an hour. A 5-minute video will be about 10 minutes, that kind of thing.
Satsu said something real good here. He said, don't let anybody tell you that you need top-of-the-line stuff. I know a guy who ran his channel off of a cheap smartphone and maintained it for over a year. You would be surprised how many people run their channels basically off a smartphone.
Mm-hmm. Mundane Matt did that for like the first 3 years of his YouTube life, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, SDA does quite a bit of her stuff on her phone. How much research do you do for your videos? It depends on the video.
Yeah.
Like today, I had to look up quite a bit of stuff, but it was all readily available. Most of the time that I'm responding, unless it's something that I need to verify that I remember it correctly, most of what I'm doing is just arguing their logic anyway.
Right.
So I have to look up.
Yeah, the most research I have to do is if someone is citing papers or studies specifically that they give the name to, that I can then look up, like Dr. Hoff. Mm-hmm. Those usually take a while. But also if it's someone who is using themselves as their example or in their argument or speech. A couple of videos back, I did one on a lady who runs a nonprofit, Girls Who Code or whatever, and she was giving a convocation speech at, I believe it was Harvard, and she kept using herself and her life experience as an example in trying to be inspirational and everything. So consequently, not knowing anything about this woman, I looked up a bunch of stuff about her and found a gold mine of inconsistencies and hypocrisies that I couldn't not include, because she's making herself part of her, rhetoric. And that's really the only time I will address the individual speaking, is if they introduce themselves or their life experiences into whatever they're saying. Elsewise, I always just try to focus on what they say or how they've contradicted themselves in what they've said.
Terry Diamandis asks, I have nothing interesting to say. Where do I get interesting things to say?
You have nothing interesting to say. Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you right now, I, being the self-deprecating individual that I am, I don't think most of what I have to say is all that interesting. It's interesting to me, but I'm constantly and consistently surprised and flattered when other people find it interesting to listen to. But I mean, most of this is catharsis for me and an ability to express myself and do something creative. The fact that people like listening to the things I say or watching the videos I make is just cream cheese, So first and foremost, don't believe that necessarily anything you have to say isn't interesting. And practice, makes better, not necessarily perfect. But if you're passionate about something, if you really know something or you really have something to say on a subject, just say it and go with it. You never know what's going to happen with this stuff.
Brian Winter, excuse me, asks, okay, then you leave me alone.
Yeah.
Can either of you speak to any open source software? The only open source software I know that's used by YouTubers on any kind of regular basis is GIMP.
Never heard of it.
GIMP is a Photoshop kind of program, but it's open source. It's free to use. It's a really good program now. If you used it when it was first coming out, it was trash. One of the problems you will run into with open source software, though, is it's not going to be as streamlined, and there are a lot of free programs out there for video editing you can use. They're not open source, but they're still free. And what you find with a lot of those is they will bog your system down because they're not as they're not as well made, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. They're not bad programs. They just use a lot more resources because something like Premiere, the reason I actually finally tried Premiere, I was using, oh God, what was it called? Oh, fuck, I forget the name of it. Anyway, it's a free program, really, really intense program, lots of stuff, the same basic stuff Premiere can do. But I was using my laptop and I could not do anything in it. Every time I would edit just a little piece of video, it would bog down for like the next 15 minutes. And I was like, my laptop is not that bad. It shouldn't be doing this. So I loaded up Premiere with their 10-day trial, and it ran like a charm. It was beautiful. So any open source, free stuff, good stuff, but it might not work as well as the paid stuff. It just jumped on me again. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions we missed through here. Okay, I'm not saying anything. Yell out if you see one.
Okay.
Let's go back to our other questions. What was another question that was in here? Most of these are about editing software, which we've already gone over.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a good one. I've noticed that there are editing softwares you pay monthly and software you just buy once. Is it best to get one that you can purchase one time only and then have forever? It's a matter of taste. Scribe can tell you buying Sony Vegas is not cheap.
No. Yeah, Sony Vegas was $400 essentially. But here's the thing. For as quote-unquote complex as I am or plan to make my videos, there is a universe of things I haven't even attempted to use for the sake of making videos yet. And the format that I do them is relatively simplistic. So if I ever decide to, I mean, I only like very recently used the chroma key feature in Vegas in order to sort of take out green screen pieces and things like that. And I did that for the criminally undersubbed videos. Yeah, what I use Vegas for is child's play for probably most video editing people. And if I never get another piece of software, I've got a whole ton of things I haven't even tried yet. So for me, buying it once was enough. And I don't think I'll need anything else unless somehow it becomes obsolete on my operating system or something.
I went the monthly route because it was the only possible route with Adobe's products. They just don't even sell it outright anymore. It is more expensive. And as I said, I'm of the mind that I'm not paying any money that I haven't already earned. I like what I've seen of Vegas. I've never actually tried it, but I know lots of people use it. But for me, especially when you can get the whole suite, which includes Photoshop and Illustrator, Lightroom, Audition, even though I never fucking use Audition. It comes with this whole suite of Adobe products that I love. So I think I'm paying like $30 a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of a year, it's about the same as you paid for the whole Vegas thing.
Sure.
To own it outright. I would prefer to own it outright. Don't get me wrong. I still own Creative Suite 6, which has all the same stuff, but I wanted the updated ones just to make sure that it was running right on my laptop at the time, and I fell in love with them. So it's really about how much money you want to spend right now.
Yeah, I have a copy of Photoshop 6 from years and years and years ago, and if I have to do anything complicated, I use that. But really, most of the insert stuff, I just use Paint, because Paint right now, it's relatively sophisticated compared to paints of the past, and I don't do anything that complicated with my images. Sanguine asks, how much variety in a new channel is too much variety? Should you just pick one kind of thing, or is it okay to have like readings and skeptical stuff on the same channel, for instance? If you are intending to make this, and this is just my thought, if you're intending to make this into a business, make it niche, relatively. I mean, give your subscribers a predictable kind of thing to do. I mean, like I do videos on all types of subjects, but my format is relatively stable. And I'll throw in things occasionally like the soapbox deals or, a comic book live stream or something like that. But you might have to do a little bit of trial and error, but find your groove and do that. And if you want to do something completely tangential to that, like with my BDSM stuff, then I would suggest making a separate channel for it, because, you know, if it's a completely different subject matter or a focused subject matter, having a different outlet for people to go to for that would probably be more advisable, I think.
One of the problems I've seen people run into is trying to do too many subjects. What'll happen is somebody will do one subject for quite a while, and they'll build up an audience, and then they'll start throwing other stuff in, and it really throws off their audience. The audience generally doesn't watch it. If you're planning on doing a bunch of different stuff to begin with, I would just do it from the beginning. Some of it's going to be more popular than others. And in that kind of format, I really do recommend more of a vlog than like a avatar, just because people seem to like it more. Like Casey Neistat, while he does a lot of, you know, his camera stuff and all that, he talks about a wide range of different shit. I mean, you can't point to it and go, this is what his vlog is about, because it's about his life. So he can talk about whatever the fuck he wants to, and nobody goes, that doesn't fit here. Except for the Clinton video, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're going to do it, I would just make a lot of things now.
Yeah.
Real quick, apparently I missed this from Moonshock earlier. He's asking whether or not my opening and closing are pre-recorded. The music is. The Your Life Makes Me Sad is. These are all chunks that are recorded that I just plug in. They're all set up.
Yeah, the other thing too is that if you, unless you are trying to do a channel on the basis of being a personality, and that's usually more vlog stuff, like Monkey said, like Ranting Monkey. If I see the Ranting Monkey avatar, I have an idea based on his body of work what to expect when I see a video based on that. It's sort of like a brand name at that point. Same thing with my stuff. That's why I have Scribelight for these videos, and then I have a different avatar for the, you know, BDSM videos. If I was doing vlogs and I was just doing about my life and I was trying to be a personality with my name or something like that, like Shoe on Head does, or Casey Neistat, or you know, Lacey Green and so on, then you can probably get away with doing a whole bunch of stuff, because the draw is you, regardless of what you're talking about. Yeah. In the case of making yourself an avatar, trying to brand your content as a particular thing, then you kind of move into the area of having different signifiers for different types of content. So I guess maybe, I don't know if that's necessarily a rule. I'm sure there are people with avatars that go all over the place and they've gotten away with that just fine. That's kind of how my brain sees it, I guess.
Okay, there's another question over here I wanted to address. Because also in regard to disclaimer use, I've noticed they are mostly worded similarly, with one main difference. Some state they do or do not have authorization to use the owner's permission, or the owner's, they have the owner's permission. Here's the thing about the disclaimer. Those disclaimers don't mean shit. Nothing. They are legally garbage. People put those out there almost as a preemptive strike to let people know, look, this is fair use. That I'm claiming it is fair use. But if you were to, if they DMCA'd you, that doesn't mean anything. You can't go into court and go, but I put this disclaimer on there. They'll say that it's meaningless. What matters is whether or not you're using it for fair use. So whether or not you have the person's permission, if you have their permission, then hopefully it won't be a fair use issue. But those disclaimers are meaningless, completely meaningless.
I mean, I have the FBI thing up at the front of my videos just sort of as tradition, I guess, because I saw it done before. And it's not so much like it's protection against anything, but it is a declaration on my part that I mean to use this as critique, as commentary, and everything else. It may not hold up or defend me against anything else, but anybody looking at it can at least see that I am declaring that I am consciously meaning to use this for the sake of fair use and critique. And if there's any confusion about that, it's like, I put it in all my videos, so if you have to question what my motivation is, there you go. The other thing I do, which is not common for most YouTubers, and this is just me, anything that I create video-wise that is of can include somebody else's content from another video or something, I don't monetize. Now, that doesn't protect me from having that video taken down, But again, if I get into an argument with somebody about what my intentions are, fair use and not to make a profit off of their work. So I'll generally only monetize live streams or soapboxes or things that I've done myself, kind of deal.
I'm glad you brought that up because I monetize everything.
Mm-hmm.
Monetization is also not a protection from fair use.
Right.
The way YouTube works, if like Scribe, I believe you've had this happen to you. If you use somebody else's material, whatever it is, and they put in a claim on it, they can claim it, still let you use it, but take money from it, even if you haven't monetized it yourself.
Right. Yeah, this has happened 4 times with TEDx and TED videos that I've done, where I've gotten a notice saying, you know, TED has claimed copyright on this. If you don't challenge it, nothing happens. They'll just make money off of it when it does get viewed, and your channel is fine. You won't have any strikes against your channel. And in all those situations, I'm kind of like, okay, they'll get the 5 or 10 cents or whatever those videos end up making, at least the sake that my audience is now. And I wasn't monetizing them in the first place, so I don't feel like it's any great loss. So yeah, but they can do that, and you can sort of be held harmless for using other people's content if they choose to go that route. They don't necessarily have to, but they have that option to just basically make money off of your work, which I still think is, in general terms, BS, because if you've made a significantly different piece of content compared to their original, it should be your work. But in my case, it's not worth it to me to fight it. So.
Yeah. For the record, I've been the only person that's claimed me is Lacey, and it wasn't Lacey, it was her parent company. And on all of those, it was the same thing. It was just, we're going to take your money. And I did challenge those. I'm like, no, you're fucking not. And they backed down on both of them because they were fair use. So you can, when you get a copyright claim like that, if you dispute it, you do have to give your full name. Mm-hmm. Because it is a legal matter.
Yes.
So I definitely understand why some people wouldn't. But on those ones, I'm like, fuck you. I did this work. This is mine. It's clearly fair use. Fuck you.
Yeah. The one time I did get a strike, it was, and it got taken away relatively quickly. The rumor was I did a video on the movie Get Out. Not the movie itself, but a video that was talking about the movie Get Out. And I used clips from articles. I used bits and pieces from a little entertainment news report. And I was struck as content, or a community guideline strike for no reason, because I didn't swear in the thing. I didn't talk about racist stuff or anything. I was just talking about the movie and its premise. And I was told that there was some kind of algorithm going on looking for any videos that had been tagged with Get Out or had anything to do with the movie, because by the very nature of any critique of it, it was supposed to be racist or something. Now, it got removed within 48 hours, which I was amazed by, because I appealed it. I said, I'm not using it anyway. So anyway, yeah, that can happen because YouTube is a mostly automated process at this point. But if you know that you're not in the wrong in what you've done, by all means, try to appeal it. Especially if you're if it's your own work, if you spent time on it and you intend to make money off of it, make the argument. It doesn't hurt to try, usually.
Moonshock asked about that. So we just covered the fair use thing. You don't have to have that advisory. It's meaningless. I have one in my description. I don't do one in my videos. But he also asked, are custom thumbnails an option immediately, or do you need a sponsor? You can do those from the beginning. As far as I recall, you
have to have at least 100 subscribers first before you can do.
Oh, there you go.
Custom thumb. Yeah. So there's different tiers of when things unlock for your channel. 100 subscribers unlocks a lot of things. 1,000 subscribers unlocks monetization. And
they changed that.
Did they?
It's now 1,000 subscribers. That's not for monetization, is it?
Yeah. You can't monetize until you have at least 1,000 subscribers.
I know they have the 10,000 views thing now for monetization.
Yeah, that might be it too. And the other thing was, you only get a limit of 15 minutes for any video up until the point you hit 100 subscribers and verify your channel. And by verifying your channel, you have to give them a cell phone number, which they then send you a text, which you then put a code in from the text, and then that verifies your channel. Now, it is remotely possible that if you put in your personal cell phone number, into YouTube for this little thing, it is possible, remote but possible, that you could be tracked back to your personal phone having used that. So what I did is I used a temporary cell phone just to get the message and verify who I was, and then put it in there, and that's been it ever since. And that way, you know, it was a pay-for-use phone that I still have. So that's one thing you can do to put up a little bit of a firewall if you're trying to protect your identity. It's not foolproof. You know, somebody can probably figure out who I am if they try hard enough as it is. But as far as something being on the record, especially after I've monetized, I mean, they know who I am now. They have my address and all the other fun stuff for the sake of sending in payments and such. But in the beginning, at least, it was something that I did to sort of try to keep myself private.
Several people are saying that the 1,000 thing is for live streaming, that they've been able to monetize before then.
Oh, okay.
One thing I do know, the 10,000 thing, if you had your channel before they put that in, the 10,000 views, then you didn't have to get the 10,000 views to monetize, even if you hadn't monetized yet. But if you made your channel after that switch, they did there. You do have to have 10,000 views, and the reason they did that was there's a lot of people who go around. There's at least 2 channels I know of who have basically downloaded my whole library and re-uploaded them, and they were able to just start making money off of my shit.
Yeah.
And so now you have to have 10,000 views before that can happen.
Okay. Oh, maybe it's 1,000 subscribers for Super Chat. I forget. I know that
there you go. Yeah.
Between the time that I started my channel and hit all these milestones, they started changing the bits and pieces. So maybe it's different now. My memory's gone kablooey compared to what it is now.
Yeah. Okay, guys. We are at the 8:45 mark, and we do have a stream to get ready for. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to call it here. I am still planning a series on how to do this stuff, you know, where I'll film it in OBS and show you everything I do. But if you have more questions, you can hit me up on Twitter. You can drop them into the chat here. I will do my best to keep checking and see if I missed anything.
The comments, not the chat.
Comments, yes, not chat. Yeah, that's why I bring you along, because I have no memory of the things I'm saying.
That's fine.
Scribe, thank you for joining me. Chat, thank you guys for coming. And like I say, if you guys have more questions, ask them. We'll do our best to answer. And we'll see you guys in 13 minutes.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.